When we arrived in Copenhagen, we were stuck between a couple of ideas which we could focus this policy brief on. As a group, we were divided on the best course of action to pursue. The following day, we partook in a walking tour of the city. We took this time as a valuable opportunity to ask the tour guide, a Copenhagen resident, what she thought. She pointed us in the direction of district heating and was able to provide an interview giving even more insight.
So the district heating in Copenhagen is mostly based on the energy being produced in the incinerator in Copenhagen. So that provides basically, so the majority of the district's heating is coming from there.
Amagerbaka, also known as Copenhagen, is a combined heat and power waste to energy plant. We got the opportunity to interview Flemming G. Nielsen, facilitator at the Amager Resource Centre. And why do you think district heating works in Copenhagen and doesn't work in Ireland?
Well, first of all, we had district heating in Denmark since 1903 in Frederiksberg. So we have a lot of power plants that are located close to the major cities and also close to the coast. So they used cooling water. So back especially in the 50s and 60s, there were a lot of people that were involved in those power plants that thought, why not utilize the heat from the power plants? So they started gradually utilizing heat in Copenhagen and in other major cities in Denmark. If you burn waste and you only produce electricity, you can only utilize 35% of the energy content in the waste. But if you also use district heating, you can utilize 85% of the energy content. So it's much more energy efficient. And the reason why we have been able to be so successful with district heating is also that in the beginning it was considered a surplus heat from all the power plants. And that meant they only paid the marginal costs by producing district heating. And only after 10, 20 years, they shared the benefits of district heating with the electricity side.
We took to the streets of Copenhagen to interview the population about it. Okay, Roisin, what are we doing today?
So today we are on the main shopping street in Copenhagen and we are going up to Danish residents or Copenhagen residents and asking them about the fjernvarme or the district heating system, and we are asking them to scan a QR code to do our survey.
We compiled a list of contacts for interviews once we returned to Ireland. Top of the list was Kieran from Kadima. They are a non-profit organisation working on energy solutions for Dublin. Kieran is involved in their district heating section and agreed to be interviewed about his work.
Kadima is a not-for-profit set up and boarded by local authorities of Dublin. We're Dublin's energy agency, which the way I would describe it is we kind of assess Dublin's landscape as it is, and we would suggest and then manage projects that would help Dublin meet its carbon abatement goals. For my work particularly, would be doing feasibility studies for local authorities to see in their areas, is district heating technologically, economically, financially feasible? And then after that, if we see that it is, it's hoping to get it off the ground and where can we get funding from different sources to get district heating into the country utilized. District heating works really well, as I mentioned before, where like there's density of heating, and that works well for Dublin because we have so much of the country's density in Dublin city itself. But the main area where it really helps us reduce our emissions is by utilizing a source other than gas. So if there's an industrial site, a data center nearby, you can use the waste heat that they are giving off, put that into the grid, into the district heating network, and then you're utilizing something that would have been put into the air otherwise, a bit more circular economy, all to heat up buildings in the locality. A big issue then is trying to connect to residential, I would say as well. It's very easy to see one large landowner and connect to them, and you get a bunch of buildings onto district heating. And then with residential is, of course, one by one, and that's an area we haven't really gotten into yet because it requires so much engagement with so many different landowners. So it is just a logistics problem of getting it for that.
We then took to the streets of Dublin to interview Dublin's population about district heating. So Anna, what are we doing here today?
So we're here on Grafton Street and we're going to be asking Dubliners to complete our survey of district heating.
We then interviewed Alan McFadden, former director at Activo, who worked closely with Bord Gáis in the installation of heating systems in Dublin.
I was with Activo for 14 years. I worked as the operations director, and during that time I had multiple projects, and several of them were related to the energy sector, both in Ireland and in Britain. There we installed boilers and heating controllers and completed boiler maintenance as well. Lots of challenges in Dublin, probably with the age of the infrastructure. Retrofitting some of the older buildings was quite challenging there. Some of the piping work was quite aged. There's no point in putting an energy efficient gas boiler in place and connecting it to a highly inefficient system. I suppose the cost of such operations was quite significant for Dublin. Well, the newer houses in Dublin, really easy to do. They already had really high efficiency radiators and pipework in place, and it was a matter of going in and adding some more insulation to the attic and fitting a high efficiency gas boiler in there. So the challenge is cost in Ireland and the organisation and maybe the disorganisation between departments there. Some of the planning regulations are quite challenging and some conflict with one another. The SEI have their regulations and their standards, sometimes not aligned to the building standards in Ireland, and sometimes conflict with the electrical standards, and they all come into play when you're retrofitting properties. Planning permissions is another big challenge in Dublin. You know, for the example you've given there, you're challenged even to get that across the line for a retrofit in that type of scenario. There is one in Tallinn is quite successful in that space. New build will be much easier. So I think probably the opportunity there is a new build as opposed to a retrofit solution from that perspective, you know.
Dublin residents definitely spend a lot more on heating. The mean annual heating cost here, according to our survey results, is about €1,782, with some bills being as high as €5,000 to €6,000 a year. The main source of domestic heating in Dublin is fossil fuels, especially gas and oil, though electric heat pumps are becoming an increasingly popular option. In Copenhagen, where district heating accounts for almost 70% of those surveyed, the mean cost of heating was almost exactly €1,000 less than Dublin, just €782 a year, with no resident we encountered paying more than €2,008.
Our recommendations for the implementations of further district heating systems in Dublin are a combination of changes in policy and infrastructure. A large amount of inner city infrastructure in Dublin is too old to implement district heating without a major and expensive construction project. Therefore, we should recommend the implementation of district heating to be focused on newer and more modern areas of Dublin, such as Grand Canal Dock, or projects that are ongoing like UCD, which is in a state of construction for the foreseeable future. Policies to expand the use of district heating in Dublin could include legislation to guarantee the implementation of district heating into new builds in these areas. Other alternatives could be considered for areas that would be unable to support a district heating system, such as older and underdeveloped areas of Dublin City.
Wait, hold on. Let it focus. Let it focus. Let it focus. Go, Troy.
Troy Savan, and I want to say district heating systems are really cool. Also, hi, Nico and Amy.
Troy. I love district heating systems.
I love district heating systems.